What's up, you beautiful collectors? This is Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Takara Tomy Transformers Masterpiece MP-35 Grapple. For the package, very similar to a lot of the Takara Tomy Masterpiece figures. You got that black background, you got all the information there on the bottom, and you have Grapple both in his vehicle as well as his robot mode. Top of the package has that Transformers Masterpiece foil text. You got images of him on the different sides of it. On the bottom, you got various warnings and things of that nature. On the back, you got a whole bunch of different product shots of them. And thanks to actually a viewer of mine, they told me about an app that allows you to translate this stuff. You just have to take a picture of it. So down here, it just basically talks about his various accessories and things of that nature. Right up here, goes a little bit further, talking about how Grapple is a genius architect who is pursuing his dreams. But it also talks about the actual production and such of this toy, saying as in the past, the product not only changes the equipment of the vehicle, but also newly made about 50% of the whole in order to reproduce the clay proportions of Grapple, which is wider than an Inferno in the animation. So it's interesting that that actually goes into detail on how they made the figure. And then right up over here is a bit of a read-up on the actual Mitsubishi Fuso truck that is used to create this. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Grapple open up and out of his packaging. And at first, much like all the Masterpiece figures, he does come with this nice collector card. You got a really cool image of him in both his robot as well as his vehicle form. And then on the back, you got images of his actual toy form. Down here on the bottom, you have his tech specs. And then coming in, and again, being able to use the translator, I can see that the top section says that his role is an architect. The next one here says that his motto is beauty exists in everything except war. And then the lower section right here is his profile, which says his architecture is so art, it seems that the technology of Grapple, a star architect who was so reputed, is now in war. Used for, although he himself has a discontent with it, he is humble, but he has pride in his duties. Apparently, he says, I hate that buildings are destroyed by combat, sometimes depending on where the attacker's hands are hit by depression. So, the translation thing, this is the translator thing that I'm using. So, you get a general idea of it, but that's cool that they actually give you his role, his motto, and everything like that. So, really very cool with that. You also do get his instructions. Again, you got all this extra stuff on here. You got his vehicle mode, you got the turnaround and such. You got his robot mode, you got the various accessories and where they come from in the actual show, such as his arc welder rifle, which he can hold very nicely in his hands. It can also store in the vehicle mode, as well as his butt, apparently. He also does come with his grapple attachment and bucket, which you can see in that one episode. Then down here, you can see how to actually attach it. And down here, probably the most impressive is his solar tower. This was like the real big episode for Grapple. So it's really cool that they actually included it. It also includes his little laser tool. And then with all that Masterpiece figures, you got the instructions here on the back. And again, how to attach some of the extra accessories. So taking a look at those first, much like Inferno, you can lift this up, you can swap out the actual front section, you have a more realistic truck look, and then you also have a more cartoon animation one. You can see this has this nice chrome on here. You also have the windshield wipers as well as some color lights and such. It just gives it a more realistic look, but to swap that out, it just tabs in here. It's a little bit tough for me because, you know, fingernails. Pull that out. Just like that, and then you just take this, swap that back on there, just like so. It's a personal preference kind of thing. This definitely has a more real look, as well as a more G1 toy look, but I think that this just looks much better in terms of the cartoon. I like the cartoon look. So you do have that as an accessory. He also does come with two different color hand cannon things. You have a chrome one, which works very nicely to replicate that G1 toy. You have a more matte black color. Well, it's not even black. It's more of like a gunmetal gray. But you have that, which when you get this out of the package, this is actually already attached to the figure. You have to swap out or rotate his hand so that you can have that. But I just figured I would leave that out to actually show you. And then also you can't transform him into his vehicle mode with that exposed. You actually do have to rotate it and put the hand back. That's an extra step that kind of just bothers me. So usually I just take this and I'll just tuck it right down there. He also does come with his additional grapple and bucket accessories. Again, he used it in like one episode. I don't even honestly even remember. But what you do for that, you have this top section. This just slides down, and then you got this. You can just bring this up, locking that right there. You can extend that out like that. Get this to angle up. This is really stiff, so you can angle that up. That can hinge down like so if you really wanted to. Fortunately, it doesn't really go much higher than this. I do wish it went a little bit higher, but that's what you can do. And then you can angle this if you really wanted to. It can also rotate around. It can hinge up and down as well. You got the little flex points right here, so you can kind of open it all the way up. You can do a nice little pinch on there. So whatever you want to do with the bucket or the grapple thing, then again you got the little bucket that just slots up there as well. Let's see, where's that? Oh no, that was upside down. There we go, just like that. And then you have the bucket for it. So again, just a bucket. Put a thing in that. I don't know, it jumped right out. Do you see that? So you do have those additional accessories, which again, really nice kind of way to round things out. I just obviously think that grapple is gonna need the little hook guy. As I talked about, he comes with his arc welder. You can bring it around in here. It's a little bit tricky to do to get him to actually hold it in here. On the inside here, I don't know how well you're actually gonna be able to see that. Like right in the inside are little slots where you just bring this in. It is really kind of tricky to do, because you got this piston here in the middle, but there you have it stored right in there, and then you can just rotate that back down. It stays there very nicely. And then I guess, I mean, if you really wanted to still stick this in there, you still could technically. So lots of storage options there for you. And then you also do get his little welding gun or tool thing. I'll show you how to use this. It doesn't really do anything in his vehicle mode, but very tiny on it. I mean, you can see just how small it is, but good paint detail on there. You got some nice silver and then the little purplish color there. Then you got a little tiny tab right here. Again, it kind of tabs in very strangely to actually get him to hold that, but we'll take a look at that more in his robot mode. Some other robot mode pieces. He does have an extra helmet, and then he comes with some extra faces as well. Again, certain ones fit with this, and then certain ones fit with the other one. I want to say that these two right here, which are a screaming face and then a very neutral face, work with this guy. Now you can see, I'm going to zoom in here if I can hold it still. So bringing that in, you can see that you got that little screaming look, and then like I said, a very just stern kind of look to it. But you got a pearlescent color for the actual face, nice blue paint for the eyes. I like how this one actually has some black paint on the inside. And then like I said, you just have this, and I'll show how to swap that out. It's the exact same as Inferno, but this helmet here does not work with this head sculpt, which is a little bit of a smirk, but you can see that there is a difference in the actual sculpting. You can see that the chin is a little bit wider on this one here. Also, you have the kind of lines going through there. I actually like this. It gives them a little bit more personality, and this one works with the head that's currently on the figure right now, and not this one, like I said. And then up, I guess, last for his accessories are the bits for his actual solar tower. Now, this is the model for it, which this is actually really very cool. Very nice molded detail throughout the entire piece, all the way from the base to the actual little solar pieces. And as you can see, these just flex down just like that. And you got the little grid kind of thing on there. I do kind of wish there was extra hinges on it, because it did have a lot of hinge points in the cartoon, but I think that looks really cool. And then this can detach. I don't remember that detaching. I mean, it might have, but it's got a little kind of hole underneath there, and then a little tab on the inside that just kind of locks into place, and it actually stays in there really nicely. And then the other thing that I think is cool is the fact that they give you like blueprints for it, and the instructions actually show that, oh yes, you can hold it. Well, he's got articulated hands, so yeah, of course he's going to be able to hold it, but you got a side image here, and then you got a top view of it. So that's actually kind of cool that they include it. It's just a piece of paper, but I dig it. I think that that's a neat little touch. And then comes to the figure himself. Again, it's cool that the actual read-up, and I could actually read it now, talks about how, like, roughly 50% of this has been remolded. As I drop it, it's going to need some more remolding. But looking at it, there are a lot of very subtle bits that have been changed on here, and it's really very nice. Now, obviously, here is Inferno. I'm going to bring him out because we're going to need to. But there's a ton of extra bits that are the same, but there's a lot of small ones that are also very different. I mean, just looking side by side, obviously the crane section is different. A lot of the front section right up here with the doors, those are the same. You come down here, though, you can see that this has been remolded. Obviously, this is attached. Well, I mean, I guess you could look at the side here. This is missing on Grapple. You can see that he's got a remolded front section here for what would be the upper part of his shoulder. You can even see that you got some extra molded in detail for Inferno that Grapple here doesn't have. Slightly different arms at the elbow area, whereas this is a square, that's a circle. The arms, in terms of the forearms, are basically the same. The back section here is the same. Come around here to the back. You can see that obviously, in addition to the whole crane and ladder thing being different, the mechanism here is completely different as well. And in fact, this does make it a little bit more difficult to transform than this guy, which is kind of interesting. But again, spinning around to the other side, obviously you got that little hose thing that you had on the other side. That guy doesn't have it. He does still have the little stabilizer thing that Inferno did have. But I mean, a lot that is different. Like I said, some subtle bits, but I'm really quite impressed with the overall changes that have been made to it. And while the transformation is basically the same, especially here like with the torso and the arms and such, the legs really do get much different. And like I said, are a little bit more complex. But to transform them, first what you're going to want to do, come around here to the back section. You want to separate this and pull that away from the body like so. Come down here to the front tires, angle that back, and you can push this. You also got to tuck that in like that. So get that kind of out of the way. You have that kind of bent on an angle. So do that on this side as well. Tuck this little piece in, bring this back, and kind of angle that out like so. I'm going to lift this, just kind of get this out of the way, and then reach in here, and I'm going to pull out his gun, and then just lift this up just like that. You got the arms, so just kind of lift that, get that up out of the way. Take these little pieces here. You want to rotate these back and around. You can tuck that little section down right along the back side. Come around here to the top section. You want to get in here. It's a little bit tricky to do. Kind of lift this, and then you can flip that up like so, and then rotate this around. Obviously, this is his head. Take this little top section here, fold this all the way back just like so. Reach underneath here and pull this little piece up. Well, you can rotate that around like that, and then pull this little piece up and out like that, and then just kind of let that sit right there. Basically, you have his head done. Come around here to these arms, lift these little pieces along the side, tuck that out just like that. Then you can rotate these arms around just like so. Kind of get that out of the way, get some clearance, rotate that around like that. Then you can detach this, swivel this around. This part here, very similar to what we've seen already with Inferno. You just spin this around. It's a little bit tricky to get everything to swivel into the proper alignment. So just bring this, keep that there. Bring this up and around, and then tab that, push that in just like so. Do that on this side as well. Rotate this around just like that. Bring this up and around. Swivel these arms all over the place and hinge that in, locking that into place like that. Just kind of keep his arms back like so. Just keep them out of the way. Come around here, make sure you lift this up like that, then open this as well, and you'll be able to separate all this from the back section. So just lift that up like that. Then you can spread these legs out a little bit. Then come around here, rotate these around like so. Bring that down like so. Get this hinged back. You want to make sure that you have this all the way collapsed on the little piston right there. It'll get kind of in the way if you don't. Keep these arms out like that, and then keep that up. Hinge this back and put that down so it's kind of straight along the body. Come up so you can see a little bit. Get these arms forward, just kind of out of the way. Come around here to this. You want to then take this little piece right here. This will hinge down right there. So then when you have it all like this, make sure you collapse this all the way down just like so, and then bend this piece right here at that section. Keep that out of the way, and then this whole section, you kind of see that this is going to go forward like that, and then you bring this all in just like so. That collapses the back in there very, very nicely. Then this little piece here on the back kind of bring down, and it tabs right along this section, so give that a nice little push, locks that into place. Kind of angle this. I'm going to bring this out a little bit just on both sides like so. That way you can actually get some rotation. I'm going to then take these, fold these up along here, take this little section here, fold that down like that. Do that on this side as well. Rotate this piece up there, fold this little section down a little bit. Can rotate his arms down, then you come down to the legs, and like I said, the legs get a little bit tricky. The rest of the body, in terms of the torso area, is actually fairly simple, but the legs do get a little bit different. So first we're going to come around here to this piece right here. This is a little bit floppy. You have to fold this around, down, and then lock this in along the back section. So it's a little bit trickier actually getting this into the vehicle mode, because you kind of have to remember how it actually looks, and it's sometimes for me not very good using my memory. So you fold this down, collapsing this, bring this piece down, bring this down, and this will then actually tab in. You got a little slot right here that locks things in, so give that a nice little push like so. Take this front section, fold this little piece up like that, do that on this side as well. You can then rotate these little feet sections down, kind of collapse that like so. Take this little back bit, rotate that around, rotate this up and underneath. Do that on this side as well. Rotate that forward, fold this down, fold this back, take this section, rotate this down. Do that on this side, fold that down, come around here to these little round bits. You want to push from the inside out like so. Do that on this side. Obviously, I don't have his hand in here, but what you would do, that detached. What you would normally do is open this, kind of get this down here, and you can see there's his fist. It's always there. You just rotate this out. It's a little bit tricky actually to do. So normally you would leave it like this, and I'll show you why you have to do that when I'm transforming him back, but for the purposes of what I'm showing right now, rotate that around, bring this piece out, tuck that in, and then I'm going to bring in his little hand cannon. Again, that shoulder thing popped out. But when you're done, there you have Grapple in his really cool looking robot mode. And once again, I really think that Takara has done a terrific job with this guy. Now, there has been some recent kind of criticism of Takara in that their most recent figures, such as Grapple, Inferno, Ironhide, characters like that, have a little bit more of an animation style done to it. Whereas some of the previous ones, such as Prowl and Sideswipe, have a little bit more of a real world kind of look. I don't honestly mind it all that much because I like the cartoon look a little bit more than anything else. I don't necessarily want them to look real life because they didn't really look real life in the cartoon. So, I mean, I get why people complain about it, but I think that's where, something like a third-party figure really does help cater, to those people that want a little extra to it. For me, though, I'm perfectly happy with this guy. But you can see that there is a lot of similarities into the overall look of him that obviously Inferno had initially. So bringing him in, you can see, again, very similar design elements here, which isn't a bad thing because Inferno and Grapple both looked almost identical in the cartoon. But there are some subtle differences. The chest basically is the same. If you wanted to, I guess you could further differentiate it by putting, the different kind of belly plate on there. But it doesn't bother me really too much. You can see that the obvious head is much different. Even the helmet and everything is completely different. But you got like this upper shoulder piece here, which is missing that circle detail that Grapple has on the back. It's smooth, whereas Inferno's has some extra detail put in there. The forearms basically the same. Obviously, the back is tremendously different. You can see here on the side, another little tiny addition is you got like this little fin thing right here where obviously Inferno didn't have that. And then there's a lot of difference here in the leg. So the differences that Grapple needs to have are absolutely there. And I think, honestly, they did a great job. Now for robot mode, in terms of his accessories, obviously if you don't want this dark color hand cannon, you can swap that out with the chrome one. You just pull it off and you just just rotate that around there, and you can have that. I don't particularly like that. I think that has a little bit more of a toy look. There were some instances where his hands looked white. It doesn't bother me really, but I think more often than not he had the dark color going for him. You can swap out the headpiece. You just pull this forward just like that, and then I think I keep saying that the faces don't necessarily match, or work with the other helmets, but I think they do, to be totally honest. So like you have this one right here. This is a smooth look, whereas the one that I just pulled off has this line detail on here, and this is him screaming. So just you put that on there. You got a little peg, so you just tab that in, and then bringing in that darker helmet. This does look like it's roughly the same. Well, no, it's actually a little bit different. You can see that this little nub section here is a little bit smaller, so it's not just a repainted piece. It is actually smaller, but you could take this, and then you just slide that on there. So you could really use any face that you want with it, even ones that seem like they're supposed to only work with this one. I mean, you can use it for really any of them. It just slides on there perfectly fine. So I don't know why they kind of market this as two faces work with only one of the helmets when they both seem to work for both of them. So where's his little smile? I like his little smile, so I'm going to put that on there just like that. And then I like this look, so we're going to bring that around and slide that in there just like that. Obviously, his gun can be held very nicely in his hand. Getting this, I'll have to go over the articulation here in a second, because this is really very, very stiff. So get that out there. On the inside here, and rotate that around. You got a little slot on the inside here of the hand that you just bring this in, kind of tuck this up so you get the clearance. So you just slide that in there. Come on, wiggle. Maybe that's not far enough back. There we go. Just like that. You tab that in there, and you can have him holding his gun, although I don't have that tabbed in there all the way. So you could do something like that. I detach that whole thing. So you can have that look for it if you really wanted to. But one thing that's kind of weird is that his solar tower, you got this little tab. I'm dropping it. You got this little tab here. It actually is designed to go in a little slot section right here below his thumb. It's a little bit strange why they did it, but it just kind of tabs in there. So you just work that in, and you can have him rotate that. You can have him standing there kind of holding it, something like that, which I do really like. I think that that's a cool display for him. And I really do love the inclusion of that. And you can open this up and create a little bit more of a dynamic look like it's opening. I just think that the tabbing is a little bit weird for it. Then he also does have his little tool thing here. Now, the thing with this is this doesn't really lock in anywhere. You got a little tab thing here that maybe it slots in the back section where the gun did, but it's really very tricky to get it in there. So honestly, it doesn't really feel like it fits in there all that well. You probably have to fiddle with it, but I mean, you could just have him hold it. I mean, rotate that around, you can just stick that in there like that. I mean, it just sits there, but it works. I don't know necessarily why they had the tab in there when it doesn't seem to work all that well. Then obviously you can come around here to the back. You got a little tab section right here that if you wanted to, you kind of flatten this, and you can take this. You got the little tab right there. You just put that right on his butt, and he's got a butt gun. So you can do that if you wanted for storage options. But really cool accessories with them. I think that they really did a good job of kind of rounding things out. Now, for his articulation, that's one aspect that I'm a little bit meh about. The head obviously has this big giant box thing that rotates very nicely. The head does rotate, so you can get a nice range of motion with it. Kind of looks up and down, so you're not really limited too much. The shoulders have a nice soft ratchet joint. They also move in and out, obviously, because it uses the same mold as Inferno. These detach a little bit too easy, but it's not too bad. Now, this arm here rotates very nicely, and then he hinges at the elbow. This one, though, is ridiculously tight. So, well, the rotation's not too bad, but bending it at the elbow is. And it's actually started to scrape the paint. Now, luckily, it's like they used orange plastic and then they painted it over. So, zooming in so you can see that. I don't know how well that's going to come across, but you can kind of see that scraped right up there and then down here in the bottom. Because of how stiff that is, and I'm just going to keep on doing it, make it even worse, Paul. But because of how stiff that joint is, it's really putting a lot of friction on there, and it's wearing the paint. And that does kind of bother me. At least that's not too bad because like I said, plastic is molded in that color, so it's not too terribly bad, but that's just something that I'm not a huge fan of. And when you come around here, there's not really much I can do because they got this weird sort of pin thing. I mean, you can't really take that out or anything like that. So it's a little annoying and frustrating, but oh, you know what? I did forget. Oh, he can hold this thing. So, okay. So getting this here, you open up his hand. Obviously, you can use the other hand if you really wanted to, but you just kind of, it's a piece of paper. He can hold a piece of paper. So you just put that in there like that, kind of position it, and you can have him holding his blueprints, which they're not even blue, they're like pink, but that's another accessory I forgot about. Now, depending on how you do the waist section here, if you have this down and flat like they kind of tell you to, it limits some of the articulation. It does sort of swivel a little bit, but if you hinge this back, you get a little bit more of a range of motion, as you can see, because this now kind of clears the side. So kind of angle this up, and it clears around those little side pieces. So you get a much better range of motion, which I like. Now for the hips, you got this little skirt piece that can go forward, so you can move the legs forward very nicely. They don't really go back because you got this little back section. They can also hinge in and out very well. You can rotate at the upper part of the thigh. He bends here at the knee. Then you come down to the ankles. They can pivot side to side, and they can also hinge forward and back on a nice ratchet joint. So lots of articulation in the guy. Just overall a really cool look in design for him, and I think they did a great job. One aspect that I really do like, I was talking about this a little bit when I was talking about the back section, but you got this little piece right here. One thing I think is really cool is that the underside here is orange, and then the back of it here is actually this gray. If you look at the actual animation, that's accurate. He had a little butt flap that was gray, and I think that's really cool that they included it on here. So again, really very animation accurate. Now granted, Grapple and Inferno are probably not the most A-list characters. I mean, he had a really good episode with the solar tower. So I'd probably, if I was to give him a grade of what type of character he is, I would probably say he's maybe like a B- character. I wouldn't say full on C character, but maybe a B-, C+ kind of character. So I don't know how popular he's going to be, but I think that Takara has done a really good job with how this figure was put together. Obviously, he's just a remold, but I think they did it justice. Now to transform him back, like I said, he's fairly simple if you already know what you're doing, but the legs do get a little bit tricky because, like I said, it requires you to remember kind of how these pieces were positioned. Now, as I talked about, I am going to rotate this around so that you can actually see the purpose of some of the actual tabbing. So, well, let me just pull it. Ow, that hurt. Okay, go back on there. So rotate that out, spin this around, put that away. And then, this is a little bit tricky to do. There we go. Get that out, rotate that around, and there we go. So you can have that look as well if you really wanted to, which, again, he did have every now and then, but I don't really care. So come around here to the legs. First, we're going to take these little side pieces, and we're going to push those in just like that. Come around here to the feet, rotate this out on both sides. This part is very easy, very simple, very similar to what Inferno's was, so I'm kind of going through it a little bit quicker. So collapse that, rotate this, bring this piece out like that, and then you rotate this around like that. Keep that out like so. Do that on this side as well. Rotate this around. Now, like I was saying, this is the part that gets a little bit cluster flunky. So you want to detach this from that little tab. It tabs in there very securely. So bring that out, and there's so much that's going on here. You're like, wait a minute, it's got a swivel, but it doesn't really need to have a swivel. So it confuses you. You're like, should I be doing more things than I'm actually doing? This hole collapses and tabs in. So pull this out. Aha, of course not. So we're going to pull out a little thing here and wedge that out. There we go. So pull this out and then straighten all this, get this piece out like that, and then this rotates up, and around. And this is basically how you want it to look. Now, I know that looked really very easy, and actually I might still not even have that right, because I don't know, I don't think that's supposed to be up there. Oh, maybe it is. But you want to basically put it in this kind of a position. It'll make more sense later on if I actually have it done right when I'm kind of putting it all together. So we'll see. So you rotate this, spin this around, kind of create that little box shape like so. Okay, now you can bring these two halves together at this point if you really want to, kind of straighten everything out. It's your personal preference. I'm just going to leave it like that. Come around here to the back. We're going to detach this from the back section, pull this out, and there we go. Then you pull this whole bit out just like that. Take these little bits, rotate these out. You can fold these little pieces out here. Again, like all of this is really very similar to Inferno, so you're probably going to know how to do a lot of it. It's just a matter of making sure you get everything lined up properly. So then you can detach that, hinge that out, just kind of separate that. You can then rotate these legs back like so, kind of keep that down. Do that on this side as well. Bring this piece out so you can rotate that all the way around, and then line all this stuff up. Now, as you bring this down, well, we can straighten all this out, lock that in here. You got these little hook pieces right here that keeping the legs spread. You want to bring this down, and they're going to tab in right on this section. So you bring that down, and then you bring these legs in and lock that into place right there. So I'm going to pull this out, just again get some clearance here. So you lock those in right there. Then you bring all this, and you can tab all this kind of together at this point, just locking everything there. You got little tabs and little holes and all that stuff. So bring that in, make sure, and see, you can see that it's a little bit crooked. So angle that in. There we go. So now the legs are a little bit bent inward. You got this piece that kind of looks like I have it in the right position. You just have to fiddle with it to get everything locked in. There we go. So you put that there like that. Then you bring this down. This piece right here, you have to rotate this around, get some clearance, rotate this around, and then you bring this down here, and you kind of angle this. You got a little sort of slot right there that a little piece right here is going to catch on. So you bring that down and kind of straighten that all out. And when you have it there, you can then fold these down. That's also going to lock things into place. Same thing with here. So now everything here is kind of locked in. One thing that you're noticing though is because of how stiff it is, lifting that makes this whole thing shift. So you kind of have to hold this to lift it back. Now, leaving these pieces out, again, the hands are going to tab in here. But one thing that's actually different, I don't know how well this is, you're going to see this. You got little tiny tabs right on the inside here. Those are actually what are going to tab in to that section of the hand. So getting this, rotating this all down, I'll show you that here right now. So you straighten out these arms, kind of straighten them out there, keep them as straight as possible, and so you're not rotating them. You detach this, swivel this all the way around. This part can be a little bit tricky as you're spinning. Rotate, flip, tab. Then you can spin this, get this kind of out of the way. Rotate this piece around, again, keep that out of the way. Rotate that around, bringing that up just like so. Now do that on this side. Again, same mechanism here with the rotating and spinning kind of thing that Inferno had. So bring that up, around, lock that there, and then you rotate this piece all the way around, just like so. Keep those pieces out like that. Keep this tabbed in. Right there. There we go. And that detached as well. So keep that in there. Then you hinge this down, kind of pull this forward, get this out of the way, hinge this whole section down, and then you bring the hands down here. And this is where you're seeing that little tiny tab on the inside of this guy, right in the very front, is going to lock things in with the actual hands. And it makes it a whole lot more sturdy here. So you just kind of push here, and it's a little bit tricky to actually do because you don't have much room here, but you gotta kind of hold that there and then push that in as hard as you kind of can. Do that on this side as well. Obviously, you want to keep the the wrists rotated in the proper kind of configuration and everything, and then give that a nice little push. That kind of locks everything here, but that's a definite necessary step. So getting this out of the way, keeping this up, and I forgot to do this. Rotate the head around. This is actually really easy because you don't have these extra little flaps here. Fold this underneath, take this section, you can rotate that, and then you just spin that down around, tuck that in like that, bring this section forward, and fill this top bit. Bring that right down like that, and then fold this in, locking that into place, doing that there as well. Come around here, make sure everything looks lined up nice and purdy like. Come around here to these tires, rotate that forward, spin this, that locks into place on the bottom side. Do that here as well. You can take these little bits, that shifts forward just a little if it already didn't. This is a little bit tricky, but just kind of wedge your finger in there and kind of pull that out at. All right, yeah. I do need a little plastic tool. That would help. I do have all those Hot Toy ones. Everyone's like, why don't you use those little Hot Toy figures? I always forget to bring one out, so I'm brain damaged. So there you go. Fold this little piece out. Lock that there. And when you're done, oh, sorry, you have to extend this, fold this forward, and there you have Grapple back in his hook truck mode. Overall, though, really fun figure. Yes, Takara is going with a little bit more of that animation style, which gives it a much more kind of smooth look and less real world sort of appearance. But for me, I like that. I want cartoon representations, not necessarily taking the cartoon and making it look like it's a real world sort of thing. So these work perfectly for me. I do understand some collectors want and need to have a little bit more detail put into it. And if that's you, third-party figures exist for these guys. But I love the fact that these latest figures from Takara really do look like they jumped off the screen. So maybe I'm a little bit more easier to please than other adult collectors, but Grapple here turned out great. The color looks really good, the transformation does get a little bit tricky, but I do appreciate that it is different than Inferno's, enough that it gives him a slightly different feel. All of his accessories are really nicely thought out. I think they gave him basically everything that you could want Grapple to have. And then when it comes to the robot mode, it's just, as I said, it looks like he jumped off the screen, which works beautifully for me. So all that being said, if Grapple here is a figure that you'd like to add to your collection, he is available right now at Big Bad Toy Store. So all you have to do for that is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to BBTS where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the wide range of Takara Tomy Masterpiece figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, so please hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way towards helping me out, and I would really appreciate it. Also, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new video, and you never miss out on a future review of mine. Or hey, if you're already subscribed, do me a real quick favor and click on that little bell right below this video, and double check your settings to make sure that they're set so that you get those email notifications. And as always, until next time, be excellent to each other. You've been put to the test, but